a new article links Josh Anderson to a surprising team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the trade proposal in there is something that's a little weird, but could it weirdly work for the Montreal Canadiens? We'll be diving into that, plus the Habs versus Panthers game, where Anderson had probably his best game of the season, but the Habs get spanked 5-1 in Primeau's worst game, and Newhook gets hurt. There's just so many things going on, but you'll want to stick around for all of it on this episode of Habs Digest. So we're just going to waste no time and get straight into the game, Jesse. And it feels like more bad news. It's just, it was bad news upon bad news. And the Habs had a great start. First and second period were very solid. Wheels fell off in the third as Cayden Primeau really struggled with his glove hand tonight. All 5 goals on his glove hand. And to cap it all off, Alex Newhook with a brutal injury in the third period. He twisted his leg badly twice. Couldn't even put any weight on it at the end. What were your takeaways from this game overall? Kovacevic continues his weird hot streak as he scores a goal, but it just felt to me like the Habs were maybe tired.
The score was deceiving in this one because it was 5-1, but it's not like we didn't have our chances tonight. Like, we started this game off well. It seemed like kind of continuing where we had left off from our last victory. But it really seems like, we didn't get to capitalize on those 2 early power play chances. And then when we got that third power play to kind of maybe redeem ourselves, we then take that penalty, which I felt was such, kind of a turning point
Classic
in this
Habs.
game. Right? So going 0 for 22 now on the special teams, we really need to get our power play back. So that's what was really unfortunate. You feel bad for Primeau as well because he had those 2 good first periods, but, as was mentioned, just that third period, kind of having those 2 goals and then that injury to Newhook within those first 4 minutes while we were competitive and we were there with one of the strongest teams in the NHL, that first 4 minutes of that third period really did us in there.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, like we were talking before the show saying how like, you said it felt like the Habs, like at the end of the second period, felt like the Habs would come back, tie it up 1-1, and we'd be heading to overtime again. But no, it didn't happen that way, and everything just kind of fell apart, and I'm not really sure what happened. I mean, it got a little chippy. There were some penalties here and there. There was a stretch in the second where there was like something like 7 or 8 minutes straight of no whistles too, which is crazy. But overall, again, Jesse, it just felt like the Habs were maybe tired. Again, second leg of a back-to-back, and they just got back to Montreal, two games in 2 days in 2 cities, right? But let's focus on some of the positives. Yes, Alex Newhook is out. It didn't look good. He could not put any weight on his leg. He actually hurt it earlier in the game, came back to the bench, hurt the same leg, crashing into the net. His foot got caught, his skate got caught. Looks like he twisted his ankle or his knee. Wish the best for him. Love Alex Newhook. But there were some positives. I thought this was Josh Anderson's best game of the season, Jesse. Don't know how that wasn't a penalty shot. He was on a breakaway and got tripped, and the ref just gave a tripping call. Unbelievable. I had to think the announcers for both teams were confused. What did you think of his play today? I mean, obviously he's out there trying to make a statement, still held off the score sheet again, but it just felt like he was a more confident Josh Anderson tonight, a guy that was really able to get to his spots more than we've seen recently.
Yeah, seeming like he's doing everything to kind of get into the game except onto the score sheet. So really unfortunate for him tonight. It seemed like he'd have his chance on the breakaway. I don't know. That would have been a lot of pressure, right there,
Yeah.
But, I think he would have took it all the same. Him getting into that fight at the end, he's really doing everything he can, right? But you just have to feel like so frustrated, even for him, a guy that's normally used to scoring 20 goals to go this far, at least, kind of per season, to be going this far without it. It's really, you just have to kind of really feel for this guy at this point. It's going to end at some point. Since the question is like, when is that going to be?
Yeah, I forget which Habs insider tweeted it, but they said a penalty shot in that situation could have been the best or the worst thing for Josh Anderson. Imagine he gets up there and he just flubs it. Like, you never know. But yeah, he played really well. But like another issue tonight, Jesse, and I thought the big issue for Montreal is while they buzzed a lot, while they played quite well for a good chunk of the game, the high danger chances just aren't coming, especially when you compare to a team like Florida, who's constantly putting the puck in front of the net, constantly firing at the net. Shooting the puck was an issue. That there was a 2-on-1 with Slaf and Caufield. The defender was just completely covering Caufield. Slaf had no one between him and the goalie, but he didn't even look at the net. The whole time he was looking over at Caufield, and he made a pass right into the defender. He actually said before the game his mom told him to shoot more. And Slaf, he did shoot a little later in the game. I'm sure on the bench, Coach Marty was like, Slaf, you got to shoot. But it wasn't just him who didn't shoot. Jesse, take a look at this. So I swear he got at least one shot on goal. Apparently not, according to the official box score. Look at the Habs top six. Suzuki, Slafkovsky, Newhook, Caufield, Dvorak, Gallagher. You sum up their shots. It's 2. Suzuki had 1. Gallagher had 1. The other 4 guys had 0 combined. I just feel like the Habs need to start shooting a bit more when they get to their spots, and maybe some more goals come from that. I don't know. I just feel like when I'm watching them, sometimes there's stretches of minutes and minutes where it just feels like the puck's not even getting near the net.
That's it, because we were there, we were getting close, we were pressing at times, in that first and second period especially. But I think just getting those shots off a little bit quicker once we are there. I think Slav, it's good that the words kind of get into him. If his mom told him, he's got to listen at some point. I think he will realize at certain points it's becoming too common of a talking point right now. Everybody's kind of seeing it. And you got to feel like at some point he's going to really realize it as well. He's going to be a really dangerous player when he just becomes a little bit more selfish with the puck and everything else. And he just really realizes all the tremendous talent that he has that is so obvious to everybody else. But not just shooting, but also one-timing it, getting the puck off your stick right away. Because we know when he does that, it's no coincidence. That's when he's successful, and that's when he does score goals for this team.
Yep, get the puck off his stick. That's what he did against Boston. We saw it, St. Louis. No matter who it is, he's able to put the puck in the net. Coming into this game, he had 5 points in his last 7 games, 4 in his last 5. He has been playing very well. A few more turnovers tonight, but he's growing every single day. Looks more confident. Super pumped for him. So, hey, if there's any positives to take out of this game, we know that the guys are growing, and we know they're going to hopefully be better as a team next game. But we got to talk about now this article talking about Josh Anderson. And this was very interesting. There was an article for this website, I believe it's a Western Pennsylvania sports website. They proposed an interesting deal. And here's his reasoning. He said that Patrick Hornqvist, when he went to Pittsburgh, changed the team because he was physical. He battled down low. He was in the blue paint. He was a net front presence. He was physical. And he said Josh Anderson's one of the NHL's very few true power forwards. He's also mired in a grievous slump, having scored no goals in 21 games, now 22, despite playing in the Habs top 6 and on their first power play. He actually wasn't on the first power play tonight. Newhook was there until he got injured. But still, same thing goes. I said Anderson wouldn't be a good acquisition for the long run. He'd be a risky get for right now, but could be a net front presence for the Pittsburgh's top power play. He said, to be fair, Anderson doesn't really do it for Montreal, but good for Pittsburgh. And he gave some trade proposals, Jesse, and I want to get your thoughts on this. He mentions Rickard Rakell, top swap, maybe no goals in 17 games, very similar slump. He's got a $5 million cap hit through 2028. For reference, Anderson's 5.5 through 2027, so very similar. He also mentions Jake Gensel, but he's a rental, so Montreal probably wouldn't want him. Or Brian Rust, a perennial 20-goal scorer. The last, 4 or 5 years, he scored 20 goals. 5.125 through 2028. These are some interesting targets, Jesse. Now, Rakell's a year older. Rust is 2 years older than Josh Anderson, almost exactly. Do either of those guys move the needle for you? Or does the idea of Josh Anderson going to the Penguins maybe spark an idea in your head of oh, that might actually be a good fit?
Well, I think that Josh Anderson's the type of player where if he was to go to a new environment, he probably would have a lot of success because there's a lot of good tools that he has. That's what's so perplexing about his situation. He just can't seem to put it together. So you could imagine very easily in a new situation where that's just maybe kind of the fresh start he needed. So I definitely see why teams would be interested in him. Of course, this isn't new. The type of skills that he has are very unique in this league. So for a long time, he has been sought after in his own type of way. That being said, I would disagree on utilizing him on the power play. I don't believe that that's where his skill set is used best, but I believe, still on 5v5, having him in front of the net and everything else, absolutely. That's a great spot for him. You need him to be in the thick of the play when he's really engaged, forechecking, deep in the offensive zone. Of course, that's where Josh Anderson's at his best. There are some interesting trade proposals there. The one of them that stands out the most for me is Rust, as we know, has been consistently a pretty good goal scorer in this league and point getter just all around, right? With that contract to 2028, you might feel like the later half of that might not age the best, but at the same time, this is shown to be a very consistent player, right? So money pretty comparable. You feel like he's probably a lot more consistent. I think that's pretty safe to say of a player than Josh Anderson as well. So I think, there's definitely some merit into that. A lot of ways, the Penguins is a team where, they're trying to win still. They're in that contention window, and they're going to try and make some moves to try and stay in there. So it makes sense that they would look at somebody like Josh Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, and he seems like a guy that would be on like a winning team, right? Just one of those guys you're like, oh yeah, we have a Josh Anderson type, right? It's rare. But I feel like that's what everyone's been saying his whole career, and he's really, really struggled to live up to it, especially these past few years in Montreal. He's had spurts, especially when he plays Toronto, and like it's amazing. But yeah, he's struggled mightily recently, and for me, like Rust and Raquel, you're adding a year and you're saving about you're basically adding $2 million total. You're basically swapping contracts at that point. They meant him mentioning Gensel. He said Montreal's not looking for a rental, but if they are, maybe Dubas could dangle Gensel. That one to me is interesting. Just because you get off of Josh Anderson's contract for nothing, but I don't think that's how Kent Hughes sees it. I think Kent Hughes sees it as more of, oh, I'm going to close that, as more of like Josh Anderson has value, and as they mentioned in this article, it's like you'd value Anderson higher than Raquel at this moment because Raquel's currently on LTIR and Anderson's healthy, and like he's a valuable asset, Jesse. I worry that teams are not going to want to pay. Like it's one of those things, theoretical Josh Anderson value, actual Josh Anderson value. You got to meet in the middle.
And now it's not the time to trade Josh Anderson just because obviously his value's at a low right now. Obviously his play needs to really pick up if anything is going to get done between now and the trade deadline for sure. So that's the one thing that really needs to change in here is he needs to step up his play if Kent Hughes is going to make a move involving him in the near future.
Yeah, we'll have to see him step up. We don't play the Leafs until March, so he's going to have to do against some other team. But we'll have to see what he does. What do you guys think of a trade of Josh Anderson to Pittsburgh? It's a bit wild, isn't it? These trade proposals are crazy, but like they're not that out of the realm of possibility. Even if we don't necessarily think they're the best things, we want to hear from you and what you think about these crazy trade ideas. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're pushing 9,000 subs. We're getting more subs every single day from all you lovely people who watch, especially you who watches right to the end of the video. So thank you very much to all of you. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.